Alright folks, hello and welcome back to Downstage Gaming. I'm your host Josh, and this is part 16 of our Let's Play of The Letter. When we last left off with our friend Zachary here, we had found, as we were getting our photos together after doing the sort of interview and photo shoot at the mansion, that some spooky stuff was happening there, and that we thought that Hannah was in danger. So we had the choice between sort of bringing our evidence to Ashton or Hannah. I chose to go with Hannah because I thought that she was the one, more in danger. And so we had an awkward confrontation with Luke, but Hannah basically stole us away on this trip, where we're gonna get a chance to talk to her, I think. So here we go. If someone told me I'd be spending my entire morning being dragged around half downtown Luxembourg looking for furniture, I probably would have simply smiled at them. Then perhaps even give them a good friendly pat on the shoulder and wish them a nice day. Not that I find anything wrong with this at all. On the contrary, this is most definitely a nice change of pace after weeks of getting bogged down by several freelance gigs and shutting myself inside my apartment whenever I can. If only the weather would be a whole lot nicer, the kind with less sun and more clouds perhaps. With the mid-morning sun slowly beating down on us as high noon approaches, I can see why Mr. Wright skipped out on this trip. Because he sucks? The bright side is, the whole thing seems to have put Miss Wright in a less somber mood. After the fifth score, her pace is considerably livelier, her gestures less guarded than the one she displayed at the mansion earlier. The presence of another person might have helped as well. Oh, that's right, I forgot that Marianne is going to be joining us on this little trip. I wonder how she'll react to the nonsense. Although Miss McCullough seems less predisposed to small talk, preferring to keep herself most of the time and let Miss Wright lead us wherever. She did acknowledge me with a small nod when we were introduced earlier. Really, can you ask for much more in friendliness than small nods? But that didn't make standing outside the store together any less awkward while we wait for a client to finish her inquiry inside.
So, interior design, huh?
Zach, you are nailing it. Well done. She cast me a sidelong glance before returning to her notes again, her pen scratching faintly against the paper in quick successive strokes. There goes that. I did say I'm not good at starting or keeping conversations going, didn't I? It's true, you did. We all have weaknesses, Zach. She doesn't look back up again. I take that as my cue to stop any attempt of striking a dialogue with her, and keep myself occupied with some other thing. Except, what we have here is just Luxembourg and its busy streets. People going about their day like normal, cars moving in and out of sight, heading to who knows where. Nothing remarkable, really. The ease with which a person can fade into the background here is reflective of the kind of city Luxembourg will always be. But the humdrum's one thing I learned to live with. Needless to say, it doesn't usually stay that way. There are times when it would come alive, make itself known, and reassert itself back to the world. However, those moments are few and far in between. Then again, with what graces the news channels lately, I'm starting to think it's going to happen sooner. Yeah, serial murder stuff has a way of, getting your town famous. Can't say I'm looking forward to what it'll bring.
Luxury living, is it?
Okay, so you're going to return our own awkwardness with your own awkwardness. Her voice effectively cuts through my thoughts, just as I count the 13th passerby wearing a hat today. Beside me, I can hear the faint rustling of paper and the clicking of her pen as she stashes them back to her bag.
Excuse me, what?
God, you're both terrible at this.
The magazine you're working for. It's Luxury Living, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You've been featured by them before, I take it?
A few years back, yes. For just some issues. My designs still appear from time to time, though not as frequent as before. Gotta have room for new talents, right?
It may not show in her face, but the pride is evident in her voice.
Good folks, the people running the publication. Tell me, is DK still on the editorial team?
Donkey Kong? Oh, yeah. Oh, Donkey Kong's running the whole thing.
I wouldn't know. I've only started taking jobs from them this year. Freelancer, you know.
He's a pretty crazy guy, though. Only wears a tie to work.
Good man, that guy. Anyone in our field should meet him.
I couldn't agree more,
He
Marianne.
had a lot of things to say about art.
I believe
all
it.
of them relevant. Learned a lot from him, actually, even if we both came from two different fields.
Oh, well, gotta see some fan art of Marianne and Donkey Kong now.
I hope he's in a good place. I haven't talked to him in a while. Anyway, your portfolio must have been good if they gave you the job. They don't easily assign big features to freelancers like this.
Him and that Diddy Kong were always getting into such mischief.
I wouldn't say I am, but experienced, you know? The more you practice it, the more you learn the tricks of the trade. That kind of stuff.
I know what you mean. Still, you've got to keep up with the competition. Each year, a new talent emerges, and, well, you never know.
Well, thanks for stressing me out, man.
Clients can be a bit fickle-minded with their choices. Believe me. Speaking of, do you think you'd be up for a new client after this?
Think so? Depends on how big the project is.
She reaches into her bag again. This time to pull out a business card, which she hands over to me. Second time we've seen this.
When you're free, send your portfolio to Chris. He's my assistant.
You have an assistant?
He's been looking for a decent photographer to help with updating the studio's portfolio. Nothing urgent, but the sooner the better.
Not sure if I'll have the time to squeeze this in. But, alright, I'll give it a go once.
Marianne, could you look this over for me?
At that very moment, Miss Wright emerges from the store. When I look back to Miss McCulloch, a mask of professionalism has returned to her. Aw, Marianne, you gotta let the mask down. You know, Hannah's good. Hannah's good people, deep down. Or at least, that's what it's trying to be. There's a different light in her eyes as she faces her. A flicker of familiarity and recognition. I'd say it's fondness, but that would be too presumptuous. Whatever it is doesn't last and is bristly swept under the firm tone her voice assumes.
Definitely. Is there a problem?
They said they don't have the colors you suggested. Do you think we can change it around for a bit? It might take a while if we insist what we want, and
No,
you know I'd rather not worry about this later.
Miss Hannah, it simply must be orange and lime green, I insist.
I think it'd be better if I handle this one myself. Excuse me.
She walks into the shop without another word, leaving the two of us standing outside. As soon as she's out of earshot, however, Miss Wright lets out a giggle and swipes the business card cleanly off my hand. She smiles, a bemused little thing spreading across her face, and waves the card in front of me. I wish she'll do that more often. The smiling thing. Not also waving cards in front of my face. It suits her more than the other one she frequently shows to the media.
I look away, and the next thing I know, you're picking up women. On the streets, while the sun is high, no less. I'm not sure if I should be appalled or amazed.
I mean, I'm not sure the business cards really... I assume that that's like an office number, Hannah.
Whatever happened to the Zach I met a day ago? About as tall as you. Photographer. Quite the gentleman. To tell you the truth, I'm a bit disappointed he's gone.
It ain't like that, Miss Wright. And I'm sure Miss McCullough is not the kind of woman to let herself be picked up by strangers. Let alone people she barely knows.
You know, don't make assumptions.
Oh, shush. Let me have my fun. And didn't I say you can call me Hannah?
She gives the card back to me nonetheless, and with it, her mood fades into a more pensive one. An odd look settles on her face, yearning, a bit wistful, as she looks back towards the shop's display window. There's nothing remotely interesting in it for me when I follow her line of sight, though. A few trinkets here and there, a fur rug, a sofa, one side table and a lamp, all tastefully picked and arranged to resemble a typical antique living room. Is she seeing, the ring girl, much like our friend Isabella did? On second thought, it does look comfortable. But why they added a crib beside it baffles me. Oh, now I see. Unless, of course, the people they're hoping to market to are those who already have children, or about to have one. Maybe it is fitting. Peculiar choice of decorations aside, it does make for a nice icebreaker. If it's not on the same level of weird and completely out of the blue. It's still leagues better than the awkward silence, which is definitely too out of character for a personality like Miss Hannah's. How should I start the conversation? I feel like, do you think a crib would make a good gift is a little too specific and forward? Right? I think that one. I'm worried that this is too vague, though, and then she's... Like, she is interested, clearly, in children, and so the specificity of this one might be better. Oh, man. I'm sure this choice barely even matters other than a positive negative. I think that one looks cute.
Ooh, I think that one looks cute.
Yes! Nailed it! Hannah balks, to my surprise, shuffling 2 steps away from the window and glares at it with such vehemence as if it did something remotely scandalous. A funny sight when taken out of context, and I probably will be laughing, really, if I understand what warranted such a reaction from her.
I wasn't looking at the crib.
No one said you were, Hannah.
Wasn't really talking about the crib, Hannah.
Very good then.
It's okay to want to have a child, Hannah.
But it wasn't the crib, all right.
Alright, I get you. But that's not it. Honest. I was just saying the stuff that was on display there looks nice. Or at least as nice that it can be compared to the ones we visited earlier. But I'm sure your interior designer has something different in mind for your mansion, so don't mind me.
I was hoping that would be enough to cut the topic short. But instead, she sighs, leans on the wall closest to her, and runs her hand through a lock of her hair. There is a far-flung look in her eye, even as she fixes it on the concrete curb.
You need to stop looking at people like that, sweetie.
What?
I'm afraid I don't quite catch your drift, ma'am.
Excuse me?
I suppose you wouldn't be aware of it. Do you know you always carry this kind of phase?
Yes, most people do, Hannah.
Like you're always staring at the world with this honest look. Like all there is to see is all the good in it.
I mean, with what little I know of Zach at this point, I'm not sure that that's true.
Frankly, I don't see anything wrong if it's like that. I mean, there always has to be something in it. You know, a sprinkle of kindness here and there. Otherwise, we'd all be miserable.
That's very true.
For you, maybe. Some people have to fight through it just to see that.
I mean, I'm sorry that you're miserable, Hannah, but, you know, other people can be positive.
And kindness isn't always a great thing to have around. Sometimes too much of it can hurt.
It makes you wonder where this is coming from. How bad things have really gone for her to have this view. I do understand her sentiment, really, I do. Still, when it's the last thing you can cling to, when things have gone irreversibly bad, sometimes you simply don't get to make a choice.
Besides, the point is, it's impossible to lie when a person is looking at you like that. Or I could, but I'd feel like a horrible person afterwards. Did you hear that, Mr. Zach? You just made me feel like a horrible person.
Well, maybe that says more about you than me, ma'am.
I sort of wish I had one like it. Just so people would stop lying to my face.
Or you can start by being honest with yourself. It shouldn't be quite hard.
Yeah. Get her.
Friends don't lie to each other, don't they?
I guess so.
So what was the lie?
She draws in a breath, lays a soothing hand to her stomach, and...
That it was really the crib I was looking at earlier, silly. You're right, Uncle Zach. It's cute, but the pattern's not to my taste. I'm pretty sure Marianne could do something about that, though. At the moment, what I should really be worried about is if I'm ever going to be a good mother to this child. Mad! I can't even tell the father he's going to be one in a few months' time.
Oh.
Probably doesn't even want anything to do with this whole pregnancy thing.
Oh. Okay, all this time I had assumed it was just, a sort of farther flung desire.
What am I going to do, Zach? Because right now, I'm absolutely at a loss.
Oh.
A beat.
Oh!
I mean, I'm glad me and Zach are equally stupid on this one. The realization strikes me like a ton of bricks suddenly bearing down on me. More than admonishment must have showed in my face, because Hannah lets out a chuckle. The slump on her shoulders disappears altogether underneath her mirth.
Don't look so surprised, dearie. Tied the knot 7 years ago, remember? Don't you think it's bound to happen?
God, that does make the whole thing with Michelle even worse. She brandishes her hand in front of me, the unassuming silver band on her finger glinting against the late morning sunlight for a second. She eyes it lovingly, almost tenderly, despite the trace of sadness in her voice. For all I know, there's an entire story there. I'd ask, but that would be too inappropriate, even for friends. It's not my place to meddle to begin with.
Or at least that's what they've been saying early on. My whole social circle would be saying it's a long time coming.
But the kid is something you want, right? Because if it ain't, then that's a whole other problem.
I mean,
of course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't deny I've been hoping to have him or her for a long time now.
It's just that Luke is going to be the worst father in the world.
But then, now that we're here, all of a sudden, there are a whole lot of other things to be worried about. Business, a new home, public image, my own husband, and I don't know. I didn't really have anyone for a role model. I practically grew up with nursemaids pampering me every step of the way. What if it happens to this baby as well? Oh, I can already see how this will end.
Huh. I guess it's not just my sister.
What?
You and my sister. I mean, you're both having jitters or something like that.
You both got Mighty case of the jitters.
That's what it's called, right? First baby jitters? Mind you, she was really convinced she'd do everything wrong then. He even called me in the middle of the night. Has to switch places the day she found out she's carrying a new member of the family. Never mind how utterly impossible her request is.
I mean, with science where we are, Zach, you know?
I'm quite sure I haven't done anything of that sort yet.
Oh, you don't know that? My brother-in-law has been telling me things 5 weeks into my sister's pregnancy. Since she's one cranky pregnant lady. Man, good thing I found a place for myself years before that bundle of joy arrived, huh?
It can't be that awful.
Who knows? I think we'd better leave it for Mr. Right to decide, yeah?
Provided he comes around. He just sounds so repulsed every time the idea is brought up.
Yeah, that's what you want in a husband.
Then maybe you should say it to his face. No mincing of words or beating around the bushes.
And if he says no?
You haven't even told him yet.
That's true.
Besides, that's his kid. Don't people usually say fatherhood changes men? I wouldn't call myself a living testament, of course. But there ought to be something that will hit him in that idea alone.
A wrecking ball would be nice.
Laughter escapes me before I can stop it, and for a moment I thought I've done something wrong when she doesn't join in. He's still her husband, no matter what jests or complaints she hurls about him behind the media's eyes, or in the presence of people she trusts. But when she does, her chuckle, a small hesitant sound at first, I find the rest of my unease slipping away.
Well, whatever it is, my point is, you've got no idea what will happen. In the same way, you don't know if you'll be a good mom. Trust me, my sister's been there. It's perfectly normal. If, my opinion matters, though.
A long second of indecision goes by. I can feel her eyes, filled with nothing but curiosity, boring into me while she waits for the rest. It's just a simple sentiment, but one thing I think she needs to hear for all the doubt she unwittingly places on herself. I'm just not sure if it should come from me. I'll be damned.
I think you'll be a great mother, Hana.
Yeah. If she has an answer to that, I don't get to hear it, nor does she get to say it. As soon as it's out of my mouth, the bell hanging over the antique store's door chimes in, and out comes Miss McCulloch. For more than one reason, I've never been so relieved our talk got interrupted.
Everything's been taken care of for tomorrow, Mrs. Wright. We'll have everything you requested delivered early. I've left them instructions, but I may have to visit again right before your housewarming party to check for a few things. I hope that's acceptable to you.
More than Marianne. This is a little early to say, but you did marvelous work with the mansion. I can't wait to see all of it come together tomorrow.
I'm only doing my job, ma'am. Needless to say, it's always a pleasure to hear a client is satisfied with my work.
Nonsense! You have every reason to be proud. I know you've already established your name here, but I'll still make sure word gets out, of course.
You'll be the #1 interior designer in all of Luxor.
I think I've got a few friends who might be interested in decorating their homes. I'll see if I can introduce you to them tomorrow.
I really don't want to impose, Mrs. Wright. There's still a lot to be done, and I'd rather be keeping an eye on it myself.
You know well enough I'll still do it. You too, Monsieur Le Photographe. You better be the one taking the pictures for the event tomorrow, or I'll be very upset.
That somewhat explains why, we will be there then. I blink at her, confused. Last I checked, I have nothing scheduled on my plate tomorrow. A couple of fleeting thoughts did cross my mind, like working on personal projects, but with the expectant expression on Hannah's face alone, I've wondered before how they got Isabella to sell them the mansion, with all the paperwork and the loops it has to go through. Well, now the how is already standing in front of me, and it's one giant ball of persuasion in human form. Yeah, sort of a different method, but yeah, I'll agree with you. If I have any doubts how she got around life, all of them have been dispelled right this instant. Hannah hasn't said anything yet, but I already know what my answer will be.
What event?
Our housewarming party, dearie. I've already sent invites through your publisher. They should have informed you of it by now.
I may have probably missed it. I haven't gotten the chance to check my mailbox yet.
Donkey Kong is not great with sending out emails.
If deadlines, real-life happenings, you know, they can be pretty hectic. I'll try later, but they might have already assigned it to a different photographer if they haven't received my reply yet.
Just hope they didn't assign it to Donkey Kong.
That's not a problem. Nothing a little call from me can't fix. I'll have them know I'm specifically requesting for your presence. It shouldn't be too hard. Just promise me you'll show up.
Because we're gonna have a really wonderful dance late in the night.
I expect to see you both there. No excuses.
Good company, good music, good food.
That's
Of course I'll be
Applebee's.
there.
Lovely. I hope we have that settled then. I'd love to stay and chat, but unfortunately I have an appointment scheduled with the doctors after this. You two will have to excuse me.
Are you feeling fine, ma'am?
It's nothing big.
In fact, you might say it's rather tiny. There's a short while in which her hand faintly touches her stomach when she says this. Subtle. Her smile, as she does so, a tender thing in itself. She might never let it cross her mind, but motherhood would suit her. The kid is already loved, even when he or she is yet to have a sense of the world. Candid moments like this, I wish I'd brought a camera for.
Sorry we had to cut this short. I'd love to have lunch with you two, but, well, you two know how it goes.
It's quite fine, Mrs. Wright. I need to get going as well.
Is it somewhere far from here? I can have my driver drop you off on the way.
No, please. There's no need for that, Mrs. Wright. It's just within the city.
I see. What about you, Zach? We did leave your push bike at the mansion.
It's true. I'm in
Don't
an awkward
worry, I'll
position.
have someone bring it to your home later.
Nah, I live within the city too. A few blocks from here, in fact. I only visited earlier because...
Yeah, are we gonna get to the whole point of your entire visit? The photos. Damn, I've completely forgotten about them. What with all this Donkey Kong and baby talk? My hand grazes the side of my pocket where I've kept them since this morning. And sure enough, they're still there, waiting for the whole world to see them.
Because, Zach, sweetie, you're zoning out.
Miss Hana, earlier, at the mansion.
Uh-huh. We did not come all this way to do all of this to not show her the pictures. We're showing her the
I
pictures.
think it will be better if you take a look at these yourself.
Okay, alright, listen. Hate me for it as you will, Hannah, but this is important. You need to see this. Seeing is believing, right? Well, okay, this is... Alright. I can see why maybe she might not like this. I reach into my pocket and pull out the photos, handing everything to her. Recognition flickers across her eyes when she reaches for them, and I have to stamp down the tiny twinge of regret in my stomach for having the gall to show it to her. Only it cuts deeper the instant both her and Miss McCulloch's expression changes. And it's not a good look. To say she's proposed would be a total understatement. All this time, Hannah's been nothing but direct, saying what she feels, expressing what she wants. Away from the glamour and the camera lenses, she's a whole different person. But as she goes through each of the pictures, I can't get an easy read on her.
Zach, dearie, what is this?
Your photos. The ones you requested copies of. I mean, they came out that way, and I thought you should know.
Okay, I thought we were gonna get a little more into the, like, seeing the ghoul that clearly has a desire for Hannah. Not this.
Oh, I get it. You know, I've heard before that artists can be a bit
Oh, Jesus
weird.
Christ.
Have you ever gotten that kind of comment, Marianne?
Not in my line of work, I'm afraid. Or ever, Mrs. Wright. I'd rather keep my personal hobbies away from my actual work.
It's not what I
Let's dress
wanted.
that way.
No.
Well, I suppose it just never crossed my mind that the saying applies to you as well, Zach. But talent's what's important, As long as you make good art, it doesn't matter.
Oh, no, that's... You see, when we had that photo shoot yesterday,
Yes.
there was something.
I wouldn't say I don't appreciate it. I did ask for copies, darling, but would it be possible for you to give me normal-looking ones? Preferably with my head intact. I admire the effort you took to edit this, though. It looks authentic.
Oh, Jesus
Frankly,
Christ.
if I show this to some other person, they'd probably believe those silly rumors about the mansion. Good publicity, but not the kind I'd want for my new home. So please.
Oh, Zach, you handled this so poorly. God. She drops them back in my hands like they're very surface burned
If you could
hers.
redo this, that would be wonderful. I'm positive you can do a better job than the one you just showed. Just try to keep the edits to a minimum,
Yeah, I can, sure.
You
Ah.
can take your time, of course. And speaking of time, I really must go.
She leaves without so much as a wave. I don't have to take a guess to know I've dismayed her, or in her own words, weirded her out. Beside me, Miss McCulloch shakes her head. And to think, you work with the Donkey Kong. Well, I never. What are the odds I've also ruined my chances with the job she offered earlier? Very high, I'd say. It's a foolish idea in the first place. Miss McCulloch departs shortly after Miss Wright has taken her leave, muttering something about getting a quick lunch before fetching Baruthiel from Chris. Oh, Baruthiel's the name of the cat, yeah. Okay. Well, listen, I want to believe that the short-term negative effects here are going to have long-term positive effects, but we'll see. I don't know what or who Baruthiel is. It must be important for her to be in this kind of hurry. And, well, she doesn't seem to be fond of small talks, something we can both agree on. Lunch sounds good, or a walk around the city, maybe. But with the sun as high as it is now, nah. And after how things went with Miss Hannah, I simply can't muster the appetite for anything at the moment. If I don't do anything with it now, I have the impression it will rear its ugly head again. And by then, things might be too late to fix. What other choice do I have? Ash? Rebecca? In all likelihood, all they'll give me is a pat in the back and a Z-Man, go get some sleep, you're at it again, from Ash. I talked to Isabella, but I haven't seen her around since she showed up at my apartment 2 days ago. Weird. There is one person, though.
Damn, I should have thought of that first.
Oh, interesting. Alright, well, we will have to visit what I assume is the priest that he brought up before to do the blessing next time. Until then, this has been Downstage Gaming. I've been your host, Josh, and I will see you all next time.